A bad marriage is genuinely terrible for you by almost every measure. Your health, your stress, how long you live. You're better off single than stuck in a miserable marriage. By contrast, people in happy, loving, sexually connected marriages do better than single people, and the evidence suggests better even than couples just living together. They're happier, live longer, cope with stress better, and their children tend to grow up more secure. So, what's the difference between the marriages that thrive and the ones that fall apart? It isn't luck, it's how two people choose to show up, what they offer each other, and what they refuse to put up with. It's what I call a marital code, a set of rules you both agree to live by. Here's my top 10. Rule number 1, make your marriage the number 1 priority in your life. Your marriage must be your top priority, above the kids, above work, friends, hobbies, all of it. That doesn't mean you stop being an individual or caring for other aspects of your life, but marriage is an interdependent relationship where almost every decision you make affects your spouse's life. The sex you have, the money you spend, the drink you pour, the lies you tell, none of it is a purely individual choice anymore. It's a voluntary covenant where you both give up a little of your freedom for the security of the union, even when you don't feel like it. And what you create in return is a partnership stronger than the sum of its parts, a team more resilient than either of you could be alone. So keep everything else at a respectful distance, the work, the screens, the in-laws, even the children. They come close when they need to, then you gently move them back when they don't. Rule number 2, tell the truth, especially when you don't want to. A marriage has to be a place where reality is allowed to exist. You have to be able to say difficult things and, just as importantly, to hear them. That means speaking your mind and letting your spouse speak theirs. No elephants in the room, no conversations off limits. Every concern, suspicion, or worry is up for discussion, always. It means no secrets, no hidden shame, no part of yourself kept in the dark from the other. True intimacy isn't possible if either of you is censoring your thoughts or feelings, so you have to make it safe for each other to be honest, safe to say the hard thing and safe to hear it. You should know all of each other, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Rule number 3, be your spouse's best critic and biggest fan. Marriage is the ultimate personal growth machine. As long as you're following rule number 2, you'll come to know each other deeply and, as importantly, yourself. You'll see things in your spouse they can't see in themselves and vice versa. And when one of you starts to slip, the loving thing to do is hold up a mirror. Not with contempt, but with curiosity and concern, the way you'd want them to do for you. Something like, I've noticed you seem withdrawn lately and I'm worried. Can we talk? You're allowed to do this because the marriage belongs to both of you. But it only works if it's balanced. If most of what passes between you is warmth and pride, I'm so proud of you, you're doing brilliantly, then the occasional hard truth can be heard because it lands in a relationship that's mostly positive. It takes a strong, flexible ego to take feedback from the person who knows you best, but that's where you get stronger as individuals and as a couple. Rule number 4, keep having sex. I hear this one all the time. Sex is a natural byproduct of a happy marriage. No, it isn't. Not for many couples. Not once those early years pass, the kids arrive and the hormones shift. Once that biological heat fades, and for most couples it will, sex has to become intentional. It's too important to neglect, but going into it with a resentful attitude only makes it miserable for both of you. So you have to get to the place where your internal green light is on, where you've made your peace with sex the way you've made your peace with exercise. You don't wait for the urge to work out, you go because it's part of staying well, and you almost always feel better for having gone. Sex in a long marriage is exactly the same. And if you genuinely don't want it, work out why, because it's almost always pointing at something underneath, either something something in you or something in the marriage. Address that as a priority, but never give up on sex. Rule number 5, protect your marriage like you protect your children. Your marriage is your priority. You're dedicated to truth. You're a team and you're enjoying a committed sex life. This is something worth defending. So protect it from anyone or anything that threatens it. This isn't about rampant insecurity. It's about not being careless and not being stupid. It means no candlelit dinners with colleagues, no following hot girls on Instagram, no porn, no cozy one-to-one friendships with members of the opposite sex in any context, ever. And it isn't only about other people. It means no addictions, no overspending, no poor health choices. Anything that diminishes you diminishes the marriage too. The principle is simple. Anything that threatens your integrity as a person, your spouse's sense of safety, or the security of the marriage itself is off limits. Rule number 6, do your work. You cannot build a good marriage if you aren't willing to do your own psychological work. It's honestly a bit ridiculous to think you can. You have to know and understand yourself, your childhood, your patterns, your attachment style, who you are, why you feel and react the way you do. Most of us are carrying some old wound or way of coping that we picked up long before we ever met our partner, and if we don't understand it, we end up making them pay for it. This is deep, lifelong work, and for most people it means getting some help with it at some point, whether that's therapy, honest friendships, or good old introspection as a bare minimum. So much conflict in marriage is caused by ego defense. When you understand your own patterns, you stop being so reactive with your spouse. And when you understand theirs, it gets very hard to stay angry because you understand where their reactions actually come from. Work on yourself, both of you, and bring the best version of you that you can to the marriage. Rule number 7, stay attractive and don't be boring. What did the honeymoon phase version of you look like? Attractive enough for them to marry you, clearly. Well, one of your jobs in marriage is to stay that way, to remain attractive to your spouse. And I don't mean just physically, although that matters too. I mean a person who's really living, at the edge of themselves, interested in the world, fun to be around, kind, generous, and growing. Someone your spouse wants to keep getting to know day after day, because you never get bored of a person who keeps changing. Someone who's always learning something, trying something, developing themselves. Every day they show up as yesterday's person plus yesterday's experience. You can't sit watching TV all day, learning nothing, becoming nothing new, and expect to keep someone fascinated by you for 40 years. You want to have something new to say at the dinner table, a vision for the future, a plan or fresh idea, a sense that there's always more of you to discover. Rule number 8, drop the negativity. One of the most toxic dynamics I see in therapy is a deeply ingrained, habitual pattern of negativity. Negativity is death by 1,000 cuts in a marriage. The "if it wasn't for you, I'd be happy" sentiment dripped out day after day. Nobody wants to feel like a disappointment, the sole cause of another person's misery. And yet I see couples so stuck in this pattern it almost looks like they're enjoying it. The victim and the perpetrator. One cast as the failure, the other standing over them, reminding them in every interaction just how disappointing they are. Yet nothing changes year after year after year. The truth is that nobody has a gun to your head. If you genuinely believe you're so hard done by, so trapped, so let down, then leave. I honestly think it's kinder to walk away than than to punish someone for being who they are for 40 years. As I said in Rule 2, you have to be able to say the hard things, but that can't be all there is. It has to be balanced many times over with warmth, gratitude, and generosity. Give freely, forgive quickly, and make positive regard the default. Get that balance right, and the negativity dies. Rule number 9, tend it like a garden. A marriage is a lot like a garden. It's a shared space and you're both responsible for tending it. If you both bring intention and effort to that space, it will flourish. So you must each deliberately contribute to its health so it feels alive, vibrant and fulfilling for both of you. And sometimes that means standing back and looking at the whole thing objectively. How's it doing? What does it need? What's working and what isn't? What could we do with more of and less of? What's our shared vision for the future of this place? That kind of attention doesn't happen by magic, sadly. It means conscious, deliberate action. It means checking in weekly, I would suggest, and working as a team. Because you both live here and you both have a responsibility to make it a beautiful place to be. Rule number 10, make great sex one of the projects of your life. Another rule about sex? Yes. In fact, I'd say only 2 is conservative. Rule 4 was about getting your steps in, keeping it regular, keeping it positive, staying healthy. This one is about signing up for the Ironman. You can build a business, get fit, or play in a band with anyone, but you only have one sex partner. One. You've given up all others by choice for this single person, so why do it half-heartedly? Make it a project, and I mean that literally. How exactly? Well, I'm glad you asked, because that is the whole subject of next week's video. So subscribe and turn on notifications, and you'll be the first to hear about Project Sex. Okay, so that's my top 10. If you've not been living by these, don't panic. It's never too late to start. In fact, I've made a free 1-page version of these 10 rules that you can download, print, and stick on the fridge as a daily reminder. Check the link below. And if you do find you need some professional support along the way, you can reach out to me or my team at laurahowe.com and we'll be happy to help. If you found this one useful, you might also like this video where I talk about the power of being a good wife. Let me know in the comments what you'd add to your own list of rules, and do subscribe if you enjoy these conversations. I'll see you next week. In the meantime, to yourselves and to others, tell the truth.